Let's talk to Connor Tomlinson, writer for Courage Media and political commentator. Morning, Connor.
Morning, Kev. I wish the reunion were under better circumstances.
Well, we haven't spoken for a while, but I did see your tweet yesterday. Yeah, you took some of the pictures of the Rudakubana family home have been shown at this inquiry, and you put on Twitter that his bedroom looked like a bedroom of squalor, arguably. I mean, it does look rather squalid, I agree, but arguably you could say this is, a teenager's messy bedroom, but it is particularly messy. I agree with you there. But what is emerging here is perhaps that his parents, were not quite the sort of innocent bystanders or poor parents trying to do... That's the rice in poison that was found in his room. Also, of course, which could have killed thousands of people. Also, of course, they found an Al-Qaeda training manual, a terrorist training manual. For some reason, he was never charged with terrorism. And he was also turned down for the Prevent Anti-Terrorism scheme for some reason as well. But the parents, not quite the innocent victims of this little monster that they've been depicted so far, right?
No, the Mail earlier this year put out a piece that said the parents are collateral damage in this tragic tale, and I think we've entered a really strange era, Kev, where we disconnect the crimes committed by young murderers from the conditions in which their parents chose to raise them. I mean, we've still got that image up on screen. For those who are only listening in to talk, the blinds are smothered in black mould. This is a downstairs room, by the way, so this is as you would come in via the front door through the house.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, Connor. I'm just looking at it. It is a little bit more than just a teenager's messy bedroom, isn't it? But carry on, sorry.
Well, it's also very important to note that his brother, Dion, is in a wheelchair. How are you going to get a wheelchair through that room? If the rest of the house is like that, isn't that a very neglectful environment to raise a disabled child in? And I bring up his brother only in relation to his parents, not to insinuate that his brother is anyway culpable, but because his brother and his parents' treatment by our country is symptomatic of the ingratitude that his parents showed towards us by raising a killer in our midst. Because they were brought over in 2002, that's Alphonse and Letitia, his mother, despite the Rwandan genocide ending 8 years earlier, despite them living in Uganda and not Rwanda, despite them having familial ties to the sitting Rwandan government, Paul Kagame's government, that's been in there for the last 20 years, meaning they were safe, despite Alphonse being a war hero because he fought for the Rwandan Patriotic Front that put down the genocide very commendably. So we don't actually know why they were granted asylum in the UK, for what reason. We've never been told, and I think that's a matter of public interest. For Dion's wheelchair, 5 local Rotary clubs pooled their resources to raise money for it because the family weren't earning very much money, because Alphonse's businesses were, he was a taxi driver, and then he ran some sort of bric-a-brac resale business that was named after Harry Redknapp, I think, strangely, that didn't bring in very much money. So the local community tried to provide Dion with a new wheelchair, very generous of us. The family bought their house on a social housing plot, meaning that their stay, whether it was through asylum, whether it was through their house, or whether it's now living in witness protection, has been subsidised by the taxpayer, by you and me, Kev. And in response, what did they do? Well, when their son was repeatedly referred to social services for bringing a knife into school, for saying he wanted white genocide, for being able to list off all of the historical dictators and genocides to his teachers, having this macabre fascination with mass murder, they told other family members and the like not to relay to social services the violent nature of his personality and the fact that he took a hockey stick into his old school in December 2019, smashed up the wrist of a former pupil and had to be restrained by a brave teacher who dashed out of the classroom to tackle him to the ground while the school was on lockdown. Also, as we've seen in text, WhatsApp messages reported by the BBC, Alphonse knew that his son was ordering, presumably via the family Amazon account and family credit card, because remember, Axel did not have a job. He was 17 at the time of the murders, so where did he get the money for the knife and the ricin materials, one must ask. But Alphonse knew that Axel was ordering suspicious Amazon packages to a neighbour's house. The neighbour complained he kept having to receive them, and Alphonse said, "I will tell Axel to stop ordering them." Did he question his son as to what he was ordering online? Why he was ordering a knife on Amazon? We don't know. But what we do know is they failed to stop their son. They bought him the tablet that he researched genocide on. They allowed him to conceal ricin in his messy bedroom. They did not alert the police and have him detained when a week prior to the massacre, Alphonse stopped his son from getting in a cab to go to his old school, presumably to commit another attack. So there are serious questions about the culpability of the parents here that have not yet been asked at the inquiry, have been posed in Parliament only by Rupert Lowe, and instead have been shot down, much like his old teacher when she said that Axel was sinister for bringing a knife into school because, yet again, because the perpetrator is not white and the son of immigrants, we are called racist. I think if we were a bit more quote-unquote racist by the government standards, who call everything racist, then those 3 girls would still be alive.
So, yeah, he got into trouble at one school for beating up a kid with a hockey stick. He was expelled from another for taking knives to the school. When he turned up at his 3rd school, I believe it was, the headmistress, the head teacher that you're talking about there, talked to him, and she said, "Why did you take a knife to your previous school?" And she said she was filled with a sense of dread when he replied, "To use it." And she was so filled with a sense of dread about this evil kid that she went to the authorities and said, "We've got problems with this kid. He's going to do something terrible. I know it. I know it." And she was sort of dismissed on the usual basis, "Oh, you're only saying this because he's a kid of colour. You're being racist." This is the scourge of our country, isn't it? A terror to actually deal with problems that surround people of colour, ethnic people, people from different cultures, in case we could be charged with racism. And it looks to me as if this family generally or the authorities have turned a blind eye to the severe problems, not with just Axel, but with the parents as well.
Well, the reason you're not allowed to ask these questions, the reason the head teacher was shut down, Kev, is because we live in an age where we abide by a delusion of the blank slate, that literally everyone is exactly the same no matter where they're born, who their parents are, what they believe, and the thousands of years of cultural history that might have shaped how they interact with other cultures and other people. And this great delusion has led us to import people who are wholly incompatible with our civilization. And I must note that even though you're aware of this, even in your language it's snuck in, we are an ethnic people, there's no mistake about it, who see us as their ethnic enemies. And that was a quote actually by the head of the Ramadan Foundation in 2016, who wrote about the Pakistani community's awareness of the rape gangs 10 years ago, and he said that they were aware, but they buried their heads in the sand because they didn't want to be seen as siding with, quote, the white enemy. And so what we're beginning to understand in the age of mass migration, in multicultural appeasement, in anti-racist policing, which only ever cuts one way, of course, against whites, what we understand is there are people from other parts of the world who have long-standing ethnic and historical grudges with us, like Axel Rudakubana, who told a classmate during a football game that he wanted white genocide, and remorselessly are willing to inflict that upon the natives. So all we should say is those people just shouldn't be here.
Yeah, we've got to get real about this. Connor, really good to talk to you again. Come on again soon. Connor Tomlinson, writer and political commentator.